Hey everyone, it's Axe and Chisel, doing something other than axing and chiseling. It's freezing outside, and I haven't been outside doing much woodwork, but I have been thinking, and I wanted to post this message in hopes that maybe it helps somebody else free up some of their brain cells and maybe decompress a little bit. This is going to be like a societal kind of message. I specifically want to target those folks in the population that are younger than me. So I'm rounding 50 years old. I don't know what generation you're. What am I? Generation X, Y, Z. You guys are Generation Z. I have no idea. But the folks that are younger than me. All right. The folks that have grown up with digital media within their fingertips since they were babies, like you were basically nursing on digital media. I grew up without digital media. It evolved with me growing up. So I was a young adult, I think, when phones became a staple of like almost everyday life. But there's now a generation of younger adults that have grown up within the digital age. And now I've hashtagged a subgroup of this population. They go by Renegades. You guys know who you are. And the reason that I'm targeting you is because the artist we know is the wonderful artist that we know is Ren. I see on YouTube has about 2.5 million subscribers. His video for Hi Ren has about 65 million views. His other videos have millions of views as well. He's got a big population. Ren, in my opinion, is like the Led Zeppelin or the Pink Floyd of our generation. Okay, like, we are lucky to be living in a generation that can see somebody who is so influential and yet independent of all the strings attached in the music industry. It's fabulous. I love Ren. I've been following Ren for a couple of years now, and he's like one of my favorites. Okay, but the reason that I'm targeting the younger audience and specifically these millions of renegades, and hopefully my hashtags work and some of you are watching me, okay, is because as I was watching Ren's latest work, the whole Vincent's Tale, and at the time that I'm recording this, Starry Night was the last one that came out. He's so inspiring and energizing, but at the same time, a little bit worrisome. And as I feel my anxiety levels rise and rise and rise through the messages that I relate with Ren coming through, I worry that the younger generation is listening to these messages and not disassociating current circumstances with that influence. Let me clarify, okay? Ren has a very strong, independent, anti-government stance. Now, before you guys blow up, listen to me with open mind and open ears, okay? I'm not a big government guy. Trust me, I'm not. I'm a woodworker. I like to use my hands. So I'm not a big government guy. But there's a danger underlying what is tied into our consuming of digital media. Ren admits that through his music and through his videos and through his social messaging, that he participates in the system that he actually advocates against. It is a contradiction. It is a necessary contradiction. It is a contradiction nonetheless. Okay, so bear me out here. Listen, I want to help, but we have to tone things down. We have to step away from some of the rhetoric and some of the anger, and we have to look at things with fresh perspective. I'm imploring you to listen. The first thing that I want to address is the idea that we have consumerism and materialism and capitalism that are destroying society. Okay? There's nothing wrong with consumerism. There's nothing wrong with materialism. And let me preface all that by defining the basic meaning of capitalism. Okay? Because what Ren sings about and what people get up in arms about isn't capitalism. Let me clarify. In an atomic level of a molecular structure, okay, the very, very basic tenet of capitalism is this: that two people will exchange something that of value that is of mutual benefit to each other. So the basic premise of capitalism is the mutual exchange between two parties. The exchange between two parties of something that is mutually beneficial. That could be money, it could be material, could be services, could be ideas, could be trust. That if two people cannot exchange something that is of mutually beneficial value, they will not participate in that exchange. This is so basic. Humans evolved on this basic premise that is how they will exchange between one another. All systems are based on that. If you buck against the basic premise of capitalism, then what? Then you go into, the least harmful thing is what we have now, which is like a modified, varied form of it, which is open to coercion, incentivism, and subsidization. So just as an example of how that works is if the government passes a policy whereby they allow people to take tax exemptions, for instance, like let's just say they were given tax exemptions for solar panels on your home, then they are benefiting a particular industry, which was, I don't know if it still is, but it was at the time, so expensive to mass manufacture that it was too expensive for the market to bear. People weren't going to spend their money on solar panels for the home because the payback just wasn't there. So the fair exchange was not mutually beneficial. So the government had to step in and subsidize the solar panel industry in order to bring the prices down for the solar panels. Now, if your tax exemptions go away, your incentives go away, and the government stops subsidizing the manufacturer of these things, and the prices go back up to where they would have been normally within the market, people stop buying it because it's too expensive. And so that is not a capitalist system. That was a creation of a false market by a government coercion to give people an incentive to buy something that they wouldn't have otherwise bought. Okay, this is not true laissez-faire capitalism, but this is what we have these days. So when you guys, when everybody else bucks against capitalism, you're bucking against a variation that is not capitalism. We have a mixed economy that is not a capitalist economy. Okay, there's too many influences, there's too many interruptions. Now, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Consumerism, like materialism, stuff like that, it is a natural consequence of capitalism, because through capitalism, the wealthier people get, the more they buy, of course, and there's nothing wrong with that. Here's where the danger lies, okay? I come from a generation that did not grow up with phones in our hands. You are now the generation that grew up with social media pretty much plugged into your brains, okay? And the companies that run the social media online, YouTube, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, the whole shebang, they've created such a monstrosity of perfectness in their mathematical algorithms that every time you open those things up and you share, read, subscribe, heck, you just need to pause on something for 3 seconds and that algorithm registers that you want more of that, okay? The algorithms simply bounce back to you, they mirror back to you what you've been consuming. Your worldview thereby just shrinks because you only know what you know and the algorithm's only giving you more of that. Here's the thing, and this is what Ren sings about when he's talking about everybody's on their phones and social media and reality TV and all this stuff. If you are stuck in the loop of looking at social media and looking at the things that are making you distressed, and you're believing that the government is rigging the system to where you're never going to get a fair exchange with them, where you're a slave, where you are just being manipulated, you're looking at your phone and you're seeing more and more of it, more and more. It's going to wear you down, and you're eventually, you're going to feel hopeless. You're going to feel despair. What have you done with your life? You're just going to work. You wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you eat your breakfast, you get on the bus, you go to work, you come back home just to do it all the same tomorrow. Through Ren's videos of Vincent, we see that being depicted, okay? And he says that system is destroying people. That's why Vincent was an alcoholic. That's why he sings against all the terrible things that the government in Great Britain did to him. But here's the thing. These systems are not new. These systems have been in existence since millennia. Human beings were nomads. Then they created fire. Then they created agriculture. And when they created agriculture, they could stop their nomadic lifestyle, land in one place. When they landed in one place and they started to build towns, villages, civilization on top of that, they had to build systems. So if you're bucking against the system that we live in today, you're bucking against a system that's been around for like 10,000 years, okay? This is humanity. And honestly, the basic premise of it, when people exchange items for a mutual benefit, there's really no other way for human beings to interact, because the only other way for human beings to interact is by force. That one person will force the other person to give them what they want, okay? So if you're feeling like a slave to the system and you hate the system and you're listening to Ren, whom I love, but you're getting fired up and you're like, oh yeah, the system's keeping me down. What are we gonna do? We're gonna revolt. What are you revolting against? What are you going to do? What are you gonna sidestep to when you exit the system? Anarchy? How are you going to survive? People for millennia have had to work for survival. And in modern age, we have to pay rent, mortgage, we have to pay for the electricity, the food that we get, the cars we drive, the buses you drive to work. I mean, if you're not going to go to work, and if you're not going to earn money, I understand. Ren says money is an invention. Okay, borders are an invention. I can quote you all the songs he's ever written. Fine. These are all great things to philosophize about, but what are you going to do to carve yourself out of it? It doesn't work. You're just going to drive yourself crazy. You're just going to exacerbate the mental illness that is going on in this country, okay? Now, why are we having protests and violence and anarchy and harassment and all this stuff? Human beings at this point cannot even exchange with one another ideas that are different. We cannot participate in an exchange of ideas because we are not tolerant of other people's ideas anymore. And all that is fed because I watch this social media and you watch that social media and we cannot connect together. Well, your social media is only going to show you what you want that social media to show you. And that person's social media is only going to show them what they want that social media to show them. They will never intersect. They will always be parallel to one another. When they intersect, it's going to be a battle. Social media, digital consumerism, that's where the problem lies. And you can blame anybody you want. Okay, it's not the corrupt politicians. Corrupt politicians have existed for thousands of years as well. Nothing new there. They always will be corrupt. Count on it. Okay? And you can blame the social media companies. Surely they have some blame because they know exactly what they do to society. But the ultimate responsibility lies within. It lies on you. It lies on me. Ren said it in Winston Stale bedroom. Okay? We always want more. Never look within. Always up, down, around. The answer is within us. If you're consuming all the material that is filling you with rage or desperation, then take it into your own hands. Disconnect. Step away. Carve yourself a little bit of your life outside of that system where you can feel grounded, inspired, accomplished, satisfied. It could be woodworking like me. It could be exercising. It could be reading. It could be any number of hobbies. But you've got to stop the doom scrolling. Nothing else in our system, nothing, not consumerism, not capitalism, all that is just the reason why all that makes you upset. That is just a byproduct of your digital consumption. The world is not as bad as you think it is. The world seems bad to you because of the information that you have been fed. And the more that you're fed that information, the more it gives you. But I promise you, if all these people that are out on the streets creating havoc stepped away and stopped looking at their digital phones and stepped away from social media and digital consumption in general, they wouldn't be out there on the streets. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy that the more they consume digitally, the more they're going to feel like they need to go out there and be social justice heroes. The world doesn't actually need that. And if they weren't constantly scrolling and seeing all that stuff, they wouldn't be out on the streets. So in Ren's music, I felt inspired, but I also felt like, say, inspiration and desperation. And I had to step aside like of myself and say, why do I feel desperation listening to his music? I feel inspired, but I feel also in despair. Honestly, for the sake of your well-being, people, disconnect from your phones. Take a break from social media. Breathe the air, touch the grass, find something constructive to do. I promise you, you're going to feel so much better. Not everybody is at odds with you. The world is not at odds with you. And the biggest thing here is that even if you do think the world is at odds with you, in what way are you hoping that it'll change? You're going to revolt against the system so that you can do what? Replace it with what other system? I'm sure you don't even know. You have no ideas. With what? They have all these other things. They have names to them. Socialism, communism, anarchy. What do you want? No government, no rules, no regulations. People just shooting each other in the streets and taking your shoes. Or, I mean, what do you want? The reason I'm saying this is because I've been feeling these things. I've been feeling the desperation. I've been questioning my life. I'm rounding 50 years old. I'm feeling a little bit of like this midlife crisis thing. Like, why am I working for somebody only to enrich them and not me and blah, blah, blah? Well, guess what? It pays the bills. I don't like it, but I do it. It pays the bills, but I have a family that I love, and I have a hobby that I love. And that one day when I retire, I hope to make into a full-time job of passion. So switch your, make a mental switch. Carve yourself out a little niche in your life that is disconnected from social media, that connects you and grounds you to your life. Find a meaning. Do something constructive. And be careful, because even Ren says that as much as he preaches against all these things, he's part of that system. When you're watching him and you're feeling the things that you're feeling, you're participating within that system. It's a contradiction. So go out there, pick yourselves up, feel inspired, love for the sake of love. Stop fighting with one another. Stop being so angry. Disconnect from social media. Reconnect with life. And on my next video, I hope to be doing some woodworking. Thank you very much.